The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
We are going to do our NFL picks for Week 16. There's only 2 weeks left. We're going to do that right about now.
Why don't you recap what's happened the past couple weeks while we've been off the air?
I will. Let me just adjust the volumes here. Okay. Sounds pretty good. All right. Last week, that would be Week 15. You ended up winning, Ryan Risky, and it was definitely the highest that we both have scored together in this single week. You ended up winning 13-12.
Whoa! What games did we get wrong?
Okay, that's a good question. I would have to go back and look. I don't remember off the top of my head. But the one that we only picked like one game that was different. You ended up going with the Saints, and I went with Arizona, and the Saints ended up winning. I think that was the difference.
Was this the week that Denver and New England played?
Yes. Yeah.
Did we pick that one the same? Did we both pick New England?
We both picked New England.
Okay.
In that one. The week before that, I ended up winning. I won a couple of these in a row.
Actually, that was... oh, never mind.
Yeah, Week 14, I ended up winning 13-7, so you didn't pick a lot of games right 2 weeks ago. And then I won 12-10 Week 13. We tied in Week 12 with 13 picks each, so we've been picking a lot of games correct. So
right,
that's
I
good.
think that about goes back to when we were last on air.
I think so. It's still competitive. I don't think I wrapped this up yet. I think if you win out, you can still beat me. I'd have to tally it up. I'm not really sure. The game tonight that is starting as we speak is the Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles.
And I'm going with the Giants.
I'm going with the Giants as well. The Eagles really, they fell fast.
It really started after that bye week.
Yeah, they fell fast. Carson Wentz came back down to earth after he did well those first 5 weeks. And yeah, the Giants look pretty good. They're not necessarily a great offense, but that defense is pretty good, surprisingly enough. So we're both going with the Giants. I'm pretty sure the Giants will win that. Okay, the big matchup on Saturday, Ryan. The Washington Redskins at the Chicago Bears.
Redskins.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins has not played too well the last couple of weeks.
Yes, conveniently, since Jordan Reed, his security blanket, hasn't been doing as much. He's been injured and getting ejected. Right.
He's not throwing touchdowns. He was throwing, bombs for touchdowns, a few weeks ago. But this is an important game for Washington. They need to win this game to keep their playoff hopes alive.
I'm sure their fan base will be upset if they somehow lose to the Bears.
Yeah, the Bears should lose this game pretty easily. Hopefully, anyway, because I do have Kirk Cousins on my fantasy team. Not that it matters at this point because I'm out of any contention, but it'd still be nice for Kirk Cousins to play well. I do like him.
He's playing to get that mega deal in the offseason. He's playing under the franchise tag right now.
For sure. It's a very important game for them. I think the Redskins will show up and beat the Bears as well. Okay, Miami Dolphins, who have been rolling, but they're going to be rolling without Tannehill. Miami at Buffalo, who is fighting for their playoff hopes as well.
I'm going to go with Miami. They rolled last week. Matt Moore threw 4 touchdown passes.
Yeah, who did Miami play last week again? Any idea who they played? I can check here. Miami played at the Jets. That's that's why.
I think that game was in London. I don't know. That game was over pretty quickly.
Yeah, it definitely was. This is tough. I'm gonna go with Miami too, though. I just think that's pretty smart. Yeah, they're without Tannehill, but unless they're playing like New England or another good team in the AFC or Kansas City or something, I would definitely pick Miami over a lot of these other teams like the Bills and the Jets. And
yeah, they have a good team. Adam Gase has done a phenomenal job with them.
I mean, it took them a couple weeks to figure it out, but when they did, I mean, they have done a very nice job. That was a very smart hire by them, for sure.
Yep, you really wish the Bears still had him, because he'd be the perfect guy to develop their quarterback that they need to draft next year.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, too, later on in the show. Jets at New England. Is there any question? Is there any question?
I think this is the second easiest game to pick this week.
It definitely is.
New England.
It's safe to say we're both going with New England. There's not much to talk about there. Tennessee Titans at Jacksonville. Tennessee's still playing for something.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tennessee. Jacksonville, their offense has been awful. Blake Bortles has not been good. Gus Bradley was just fired because they were finding ways to lose games when they, were having a good chance of winning them.
Right. I'm going with Tennessee as well. Dude, Jacksonville's in shambles, which they've been in ever since they went to the playoffs in 2002, 2003, something like that. I'm going with the Titans as well. Okay, here's a big game. Minnesota Vikings at Green Bay. This has big NFC wildcard implications.
Easily Green Bay. Minnesota's free falling. Green Bay's hot right now.
Green Bay is very hot right now. Minnesota's defense did a very, very poor job last week, which was a little surprising, actually, how bad they ended up doing. But you just have to look at Aaron Rodgers versus Sam Bradford. I mean,
Sam Bradford,
who do you think would win that matchup?
Sam Bradford's second in the NFL in completion percentage with 71.6%.
Doesn't surprise me. He just can't really get the job done when you're necessarily throwing the ball deep like Aaron Rodgers does to Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams and other people. It's a home game for Green Bay. It's Christmas Eve. I think as much as we may not like the Packers, they're definitely going to win this game against Minnesota for sure. That would drop Minnesota under 500, and they'd really have to do some things to get into the playoffs.
I don't think they'd be able to get in. They're 7-7 right now.
Yeah, it would definitely be tough.
I don't think they could make it as an 8-8 team.
Probably not. When you look at Detroit probably winning the division and Green Bay getting in as a wild card, perhaps.
And the Giants are 10-4.
You also have the Giants and Dallas, who already wrapped up the division. But you have the Giants and you have the Redskins also in the NFC fighting for wild cards. So I think you're right. Minnesota loses, then they're done. San Diego at Cleveland.
Oh. San Diego. How do you
I think that's the easiest
Browns?
one to pick, right? I think it's going to happen, folks. The Browns are going to go 0-16.
At least you're guaranteed to get one pick right every week as long as you pick against the Browns.
That's true. I think I only picked the Browns once, and it was like week 1 or week 2. We're both going with San Diego. That's pretty easy. That's sort of a meaningless game, of course. Atlanta at Carolina. Carolina is pretty much done.
Yeah, I'm going with Atlanta. Carolina is a massive disappointment this year.
I'm going with Atlanta as well. They have a power offense. They have just been on a roll really all season. Their defense isn't great, it's done enough to make them win a whole bunch of games, and they're going to wrap up that division pretty quickly if they haven't already. Colts at Raiders. This is kind of a tough one because Andrew Luck's been playing pretty well the last 2 weeks.
This is one of the better games of the week. I'm going to go with the Colts.
Okay, you're going to go with the Colts on the road. Any main reason why?
Andrew Luck's playing really well. He's been playing at a really high level the past couple weeks. Derek Carr hasn't really been that great.
True.
Past few weeks, Amari Cooper's not doing much.
Those are all valid points. I'm still going to go with Oakland at home. They're a great home team. While they haven't played well the last few weeks, they've still gotten the job done. They seem to know what to do in crunch time, and I think this game will probably end maybe with a strip sack or an interception of Andrew Luck from that really good Raiders defense. So I'm going to go with Oakland. So we got a difference there. That's our first difference finally. Tampa Bay at New Orleans. This is kind of a if both teams were playing for something, really, it would be exciting. But
I'm going to go
they're both pretty evenly matched.
I'm going with the Saints. Drew Brees is coming off a 4-touchdown game.
Yeah, he is. That's pretty crazy, too. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. Jameis Winston's put together a pretty good sophomore year, no question about it. and that team does have some good weapons. Mike Evans has turned into a really good player again. The Saints just seem to be up and down, up and down. I don't think they're going to win 2 in a row. That's just the way I see it. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
That is one good way to go about it. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Arizona at Seattle.
Seattle. Arizona is not a good team this year. David Johnson is a monster, and that's it.
Let me tell you something. Seattle's really lucky that they're in the division that they're in, because they're the worst division in football, no question about it.
And coming in, there was a lot of people that thought that'd be one of the best.
Yeah.
And it has been one of the best the past couple of years.
It has. All those great matchups with the 49ers and Seahawks.
Seahawks and then throw in Arizona.
Yeah, you throw in Arizona. Arizona's underwhelmed. Are they still fighting for playoff hopes? Maybe, but I don't think they'll get it. And, of course, L.A. has been bad, and San Francisco has been not even watchable.
Gave Jeff Fisher a 2-year extension, and then a week later fired him.
Yeah, so I'm going with Seattle as well. They don't lose when they're at home usually, so, I mean, that's pretty easy to pick. San Francisco at L.A.
Oh, man, is that a bad game.
I'm going with L.A. just because of the defense is a little better.
I'm going to go with the 49ers.
All right. You'll go with the 49ers. Maybe Kaepernick will do something. Who knows? Bengals at Houston. This is nationally televised Saturday night game on NFL Network.
Oh, we'll get to see Tom Savage under the lights.
Oh, boy.
With Brock Osweiler on the bench.
That's so funny that they benched him.
And if a QB whisperer like Bill O'Brien can't get anything out of you, that there's a problem.
Yeah.
I think they made the right move putting in Tom Savage.
I'm going with Cincinnati. I know that there's probably going to be no A.J. Green, but he could play in a limited capacity.
I'll go with Houston.
You'll go with Houston. Houston's home, so maybe. But, I just think, at the end of the year, that's where Houston always seems to lose. So I'm going to go with Cincinnati. You'll go with Houston. Okay, 2 Christmas Day matchups. Baltimore at Pittsburgh.
That should be a good game. I'm going to go with the Steelers, though. Even though Roethlisberger has not been very good this year, and I think a lot of that's attributed to him only taking a week off after he tore the meniscus in his knee.
Right. I mean, he saved fantasy owners' butts by doing that, but...
except it hasn't helped, fantasy owners of Antonio Brown.
Right. I'm going with the Steelers, too. It's hard to pick against them.
Or him, either. Roethlisberger just hasn't been good since he came back from that knee injury.
Right. It's hard to pick against the Steelers, and Baltimore has, while they've done pretty good this year, surprisingly well, they're not going anywhere, and I think the Steelers will win. The other game on Christmas night is the Broncos at the Chiefs, the rematch.
I'm going with the Chiefs. I mean, they're just a really well-balanced football team.
I'm going with the Chiefs as well. I like them a lot. They've been one of my favorite teams to watch the last 4 years.
They have a lot of likable players, especially with that great story about Eric Berry coming back.
Absolutely. And while I'm not a huge fan of Alex Smith, he fits that system perfectly. And they've done a good job there. And Denver is sort of falling fast. Trevor Siemian kind of came back down to earth as well. And then on Monday Night Football, the day after Christmas, you got the Lions at the Cowboys. Very important game for the Lions, especially.
I'm going with the Cowboys. I mean, right now, they're one of the best teams in football. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I think the playoffs are going to hit Dak Prescott and that offensive line very bad.
Yeah.
I think that's going to kind of come right up in them, and they'll struggle. Except right now, there's not many teams that could beat them.
Yeah, the only team that they can't beat is the Giants.
Who they might have to play in the playoffs at some point.
Yeah,
they're 10-4,
and we know what the Giants do once playoff time comes around. Sometimes they can just roll it. Sometimes they can just run the table and win it all against New England twice.
Do you think they'll ask Tom Coughlin to come back for the playoffs?
Wouldn't that be something? I'm actually going to go with Detroit. It just feels like a game that they can go on the road and win. I think they clinch the division if they win that.
The thing is, Detroit has something to play for. Dallas doesn't.
Right. That's part of my thinking as well. It just feels like too important of a game for the Lions not to show up. I know as weird as that sounds, but they've showed up this year. And surprisingly, they've done some things, and they're going to go to the playoffs again. And
they did lose to the Bears.
They did lose to the Bears, although I wouldn't put too much on it. It was early in the season. Stafford has really had some really good game-winning drives this year. That's sort of his claim to fame. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Detroit. I'll see what happens. I think I could be completely wrong on that, but we'll see. All right, those are our picks for this week, Week 16. We're gonna take a break.